Hello. I am sick. I've been sick since Monday. It's not terrible. I just have like a sore throat and mucus and a cough and like am tired and headachy, but like no fever or anything like that. So it's not been too bad. But because it's not terrible and I'm not like completely bedridden, I have been very bored because I want to like go see people and do things and whatever, but I should rest, so I'm just like pottering around at home um and feeling quite like restless. I fucking hate being sick and I get sick so fucking often, which is not cool. But since I am bored, I thought that I would maybe just pop on here to talk about some books that I have really loved that I finished recently. Okay, so the first book that I would like to speak about is Sexing the Cherry by Jeanette Winterson, which I just finished reading like maybe a week ago, and it completely floored me. Like, I loved everything about it from the first word to the very last like letter in this book. It was just such like an inspiring piece of work to me. Um and it's just so up my alley. Like, it's so like my taste. So basically the premise of the book is it's kind of like a medieval fantasy. But don't let that deter you if you don't normally read that sort of thing, even though it is, I guess, categorized as a genre book. It's still incredibly rich and deep, and yeah, just found it to be very, very profound and moving and funny and like so just crazy and unique. So it basically follows this like enormous woman in like medieval Britain that goes by Dog Woman, and she's like this massive woman who's like incredibly strong, and she owns a bunch of dogs, which she you like her way of making a living is to like, I guess, organize dog fights, which is like low key problematic, but I mean, it's like fucking medieval Britain, so like whatever. And she adopts this like abandoned baby, whose name I am forgetting right now in my brain foggy head, but he grows up and is like enamored by the ocean and the sea, and it's just about their relationship, like the relationship between mother and son, growing up, how to deal with, um, people's judgments against you. Um, it also goes off on these very like whimsical tangents. Like, there's this one section about like these 12 dancing princesses who live in this castle together and like sleep all like in a row in like a room, and then every night they like sneak out of their room to go dancing in like the city that like floats above the sky. But then like one day they get caught and they're like married off to these 12 brothers, and then one by one they all like murder their husbands, except for like this one youngest princess who manages to escape and like become like this dancer. And it also, it's just so like Jeanette Winterson's mind is just so incredible, and this book is just such a beautiful experience. I like am not doing it justice in like the way I'm describing it, but it like takes place in medieval Britain, but also like you don't exactly know what's going on, and like the reference of time is very muddled, and it kind of goes back and forth towards the ending of the book between like these modern day characters and the characters from the past, but they could also like be the same characters. Like it's just very I don't want to say confusing, but maybe confusing, but like in a good way. And it's also just so like moving, and yeah, like there are several, or actually many moments in the book where I was like, oh my god, like the way these characters grow and change and how they view each other in the world is just very relatable in some ways too. And yeah, it's just a very, very special um book, and it's a book that I will probably find myself coming back to like maybe reread every single year, because it made such a deep impression on me. Um yeah, it was fucking great. And then I actually finished reading, oh my god, hold on. Oh, ew. Um, I finished reading the book on Kindle, or actually the fucking Kindle app on my phone first, because I lost my Kindle in Italy. And then I was in my local used bookstore, and I found this like gorgeous hardcover of Sexing the Cherry, and it's from the Library of Kurt von Trapp, which makes me think of The Sound of Music, which is like kind of incredible. And there's like these really like cute illustrations inside. Like look at this fucking banana. And like pineapple. It's I don't know. I'm actually like looking forward to rereading it from this hardcover, but I was really, really happy with this find. And then I also purchased two other Jeanette Winterson books. One which is Written on the Body, which is probably in my room somewhere, and then one of her like newer titles that I'm forgetting right now. But I am so excited to read more of Jeanette Winterson, because I was very much enamored by Sexing the Cherry. Okay, and then the second book that I want to talk about, rave about, is Kazuo Ishiguro's The Buried Giant. Oh my god, guys, that book destroyed me. I like cried so hard after I finished reading it. Like I maybe wept for like a good 10 minutes after I finished the book, which I really needed at the time, so that was really nice. But this is actually the first Ishiguro book that I've ever read. I don't know what took me so long, but here I am. I was actually debating between reading The Buried Giant or Clara and the Sun, and I went with The Buried Giant because I think Clara and the Sun is more of like a sci-fi genre, which I'm not really into, and well, like I like, but not as much as fantasy. Yes, The Buried Giant is another fantasy novel, another like medieval fantasy novel, but once again, do not let that deter you if you're not usually into fantasy, because this book is so much more than its genre. So basically the premise is it takes place in ancient Britain, I think, like around the time of like King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, and King Arthur and certain knights and certain mythical monsters and characters from the King Arthur like myths are referenced in this book, and some of them are actually characters in it as well. But yeah, basically that's the setting for the novel. It is like after, like it takes place in a time of peace after this like huge conflict between the Saxons and the Britons, and the novel follows an elderly couple, Beatrice and Axel, who live in like they're both Britons, and they live in like this hobbit village, basically. Um, and there's like this miasma, like this fog or like mist that covers the whole country that's like erasing people's memories. So basically, like Axel and Beatrice, they like know that they're husband and wife. They know that, they're together, and they like know the people that they interact with day to day in their village, and like just mundane things going on like in their daily lives, but they don't really remember their past. They don't really remember like how they came to be. And so the whole impetus for the events in this novel is that Beatrice suddenly remembers that they have a son that left their village a while ago, and they don't even remember his name or like any events from his childhood, but they know that like they love their son, and so they embark on this journey, traveling across the country to go like visit their son, basically. And it's just a book about their journey, like the people that they meet on the way, the situations that they encounter. They meet some of the characters from the King Arthur myths, like Lancelot. And it's like kind of like about them recovering their memories as they go on. And beyond this very like personal journey of Beatrice and Axel, and them kind of like their relationship being tested throughout the events of this book, it's kind of also about like on a bigger scale, specifically about the conflict between the Britons and the Saxons. It's about like what is the value of memory? What is the value of like revisiting the past? How does having this context of the past and past events like affect current day relationships, and just like the way that it affects the status quo. And also it's like about I'm having such a hard time um describing this, but it's like about like, oh, are some things better, is it even worth remembering certain things, or are some things just better left forgotten in the past? And there's also like this huge parable for death and grief, and yeah, it's just the whole thing reads kind of like a myth or a fable if you're kind of into those vibes. But yeah, I feel like for me there's two types of writers or two types of writing. Obviously this is a big generalization, but there's two types of writing that I really enjoy. One is like that focuses more on the wielding of language. Like there are certain writers that are just able to craft a sentence so perfect. It's like so crystalline and like cutting to like a certain experience or an emotion or something. It's like putting into words something that's never been spoken out loud before. And some other writers, or some other pieces, and this is what I would categorize The Buried Giant under, is like it's less about like the craft of language and like the wielding of language, but just the more you read it, the more time you spend with certain books, it just like grows and grows in layers until the end, until you reach the end of the experience and you're like completely like shattered, and just feel like you've it just feels like such an immersive experience, and that's how I definitely feel about this book. um but yeah, would highly recommend. Yeah, I like loved it so much. Okay, I think I'm gonna end the video here because I am feeling kind of sicky and like wanna lay down. I was gonna talk about oh my god, what is his name? Ah! Oh my god, I should know this. Hisham Matar's My Friends, which was a book that I read at the end of 2024 that also just like blew me away. It was like incredible. But maybe I'll save that for another video because I think this video, the two books that I mentioned, are kind of like in the same genre of like medieval fantasy. So I think, I don't know, maybe I'll just keep this video like talking about two books with like similar vibes in my opinion. Um but yeah, I've been reading a lot this year. Um yeah, I just love reading. I've been reading a lot more, writing a lot more, and it's been nice to have books to kind of retreat to with all the crazy shit that's been happening politically and globally, and like with all these natural disasters and plane crashes and like what even is fucking going on, guys. Like, what time are we living in? Like, every day I'm just kind of like, oh no, like what else can go wrong? I mean, I feel very grateful and blessed that, you know, I'm like in a very privileged situation, living in, you know, a very liberal city, and just having a really good group of friends and my community to like keep me like hopeful and just like not completely depressed. But yeah, it's good to have books in times like these, I think. It's good to have art and books and movies and good friends and people, and it's good to talk. It's good to eat yummy food. I don't fucking know what I'm talking about. But I hope everyone, to all my 12 subscribers, I hope you are all doing okay. Yeah. Please let me know what you're reading, what you're into recently. If you've read any of the books that I've mentioned, I'd love to chat with you about them or about anything really. Yeah. Hope to see you in the next video. Bye.